He is the assistant coach of the Drury Panthers. Cliff Cook, kind enough to join us here to start off season 10. Cliff, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Great to see you, Lou. I'm good. Like I said before we got started here, voice isn't quite there after a long weekend up in North Dakota, but we're excited.
Well, let's get right into that because I know it was your first road trip of the year. You guys coming into the weekend, ranked 9th in the preseason poll. Very successful weekend. Talk a little bit about that against the University of Mary.
Yeah, it was a great weekend for us. Not only first road trip of the year, our only real lengthy big one. So, that 15, 16-hour drive is a heck of a route, but boys were up for it. We had a great opening night Saturday, jumped out early and kind of stayed on top of Mary. And then Sunday's game, a little different animal, had a 2-goal lead early, and then they came back on us in one of our worst periods of the year in the second period. But you can't have those against a team like that. Dan does a great job with that program, has for years. They're uber successful, as we know, at Division II, and have carried that over Division I the last few years. So, yeah, it's a huge test for us early in the season. That's what we were looking for after our strength of schedule wasn't the strongest last year. So to have a game like that or a weekend like that this early in this season is huge for us.
Well, I had a chance to watch it, the game yesterday, the second and third period. What did you tell the boys to get ready for that third period to come back and get the win?
Yeah, it wasn't even so much, I'm kind of the more vocal of the two coaches when we're normally in situations like that. But really, Jeremy kind of turned me loose thinking I was going to give one of those kind of speeches. And I just kind of calmly said, guys, we're better than this. It's our first true adversity of the season. And, when that happens, you kind of get a feel where your team's at, and some of that little bit of negativity creeped in on the bench, but they put an end to it quick. We have a really tight knit group of guys. And I just had to remind them, like, look, guys, we're a big family here. Enough with the bickering. Nobody's playing well at this point, so you don't have a right to tell anybody else what they're doing wrong. So, yeah, just squash it now, come out and play hard in the third, and that's what they did. And I think it was just one of those early season wake-up calls we needed.
Yeah, well, you know what? You came out on top, and I saw that your little story on the way home. You got to enjoy yourself on the ride back watching your Kansas City Chiefs too, right?
Oh, they're not my Chiefs, but they're everybody else around here's Chiefs. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not I think we've talked before. As a native Texan, I'm not a big football guy, so I'm a terrible Texan in that regard. But it's good to have something the guys to enjoy on the way back. They were having a good time in the back of the bus playing cards and whatnot. So it's always nice when you have that long of a trip home to finish up with a couple of wins. Otherwise, that trip gets a little longer.
Oh, definitely. I am sure it does.
Yeah.
Cliff, last year was your first year at the D1 level. You made a good run. You got to the national tournament. Just if you would, just kind of a thumbnail sketch. Talk a little bit about that run. You had a great win against Utah. Yeah. In a crazy first weekend of that national tournament with the weather, changing locations. Gosh, you guys played West Coast time in that game against Utah. What a crazy turn of events that was. And I know a coach that I've gotten to know here, a football coach, says the only happy coach is the only one that wins the last game. But talk a little bit about that first year with the national tournament run.
Yeah, it's hard to really be too upset with the finish, obviously. I mean, first year D1 program. Mm-hmm. Obviously Jeremy and I had the experience at Missouri State of getting to the national tournament and didn't have a lot of success back then. And so to take that first year team and make it to the quarterfinals was special. That Utah win was, I'll never forget that feeling. And the guys felt the same. It was just a really special night. I do want to say, and I said this at the time, I was on podcast with our buddy Chris Perry, his podcast at the time, and I said it then, and I'll say it again now. I cannot give more props to the league officials for how they handled that whole situation. Oh. It was amazing how they came together, how the hockey community in St. Louis came together. It was a difficult time, and then to pull it off. They had the scary incident at the other rink with the Niagara player as well. Mm-hmm. And so how everything came together. It makes for a memorable first experience for Drury University hockey, that's for sure. So, and to lose to Minot is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, they're a powerhouse, as we know. So,
Yeah, they're definitely one of the pillars to kind of measure yourself with as you get into year two. So you come into this year, Cliff, and the first thing that I thought about was you're not an unknown anymore. People know you've gotten to the tournament and you've had some success. And I think, to me, that's huge, because some teams get there and they don't even get a win. So now the mentality is you're not the unknown. Is that any different going into training camp this year? And obviously with the 6 games so far in the regular season?
I don't think so. I mean, we talked all last year. There came to a point even last season when we realized we weren't going to sneak up on anybody. So we knew that going in. There's not that there's a target on our back. I mean, we didn't, at the end of the day, only one team won the whole thing. So, but there's no surprising anybody. And we knew that, and we like that. We like going in knowing that it gives us confidence going in every weekend that we know what we're capable of. Jeremy and I talked about it on the drive back, and just the short time we've been a D1 program at Drury, we're now 34-3. So
wow,
it's pretty awesome. Yeah. So we're excited. The one thing that really helped by having the success we had last year, as you know, this is one of the hard things at this level, especially as an independent team, but it's also one of the, I think, bonuses of being an independent team is the scheduling.
Yes.
And, it allows us to have freedom of who we want to play. But last year that was tough because we hadn't established anything. The bigger teams didn't want to give us that opportunity. And during the season last year, as we moved along, that was already starting to change, and we were getting those phone calls from the big names. And that's why we were able to, go up and play a Mary. And that's why we've now been invited to the Chicago showcase. And so it's really helped elevate our schedule where we want it to be. And that's going to continue to rise as we move along here.
Well, I did notice on Calvin's schedule that you're going to make a trip up to Grand Rapids coming up next month. Is that right?
Unfortunately, no. We unfortunately had to cancel that trip.
Okay.
It wasn't something we want to do. We really were excited about coming back up there, and we will make that trip in the future for sure. So that's one of those teams that we were excited to play. But another team from your area is going to be here this coming weekend. So
yes, you get Davenport coming down.
Yeah, and we obviously got a little history there. So
yes, you do. And that just means that gives me another reason to see if I can come down to Chicago and broadcast some of those games coming up around Thanksgiving at that showcase.
Perfect.
You talk about a collection of great teams, kind of a preview of the national tournament. That's a great thing they put on in Chicago.
Yeah, Joey's Caprio's done a great job since he's kind of gotten going with his whole product, if you will, from the showcases over the summer to now these in-season showcases. He's done a great job. And we tried to sneak our way into last year's, and he kind of laughed, said, you guys, first year team, probably not going to have you. But it did. He was one of those, it didn't take too long to where he's like, all right, you guys are in. Just hold tight, and we'll get the scheduling figured out. And what I like is he lets every team kind of give him a ranking of who they'd like to play.
Oh.
And, so we're excited where our schedule ended up. It's going to be a real test for us, but we're looking forward to it. But we got some big games prior to that, of course. But yeah, that's going to be a fun weekend.
So let's Cliff Cook's joining us, by the way, assistant head coach of the Drury Panthers, ranked number 9 in the original poll here in 2025/2026 here on the ACHA Power Play. Cliff, let's talk about the team right now. Through 6 games, what really impressed me so far is the goaltending. Again, you've got Joseph Cuchalzo.
Yeah.
He's off to a 5-0 start, 1.4. I mean, every coach will tell you, just about every coach, that it starts in the back end, and he's off to a great start.
Yeah, I bias aside, I still think we have the best goaltender in the country. Now, other coaches will say that as well, but I truly believe it. Joe is special. He was huge for us this weekend when we needed him to be, when we weren't playing our best. Even in that second period on Sunday when we gave up a couple goals, they weren't on him. It was just us playing bad in front of him. So we're thrilled to have him in net. And then, we've got a trio of goalies that are all great. Brett Sweet is a fantastic goalie in his own right. He's going to get opportunities this year as well. We fully believe in his capabilities of stepping in if Joe's not able to go for whatever reason.
And then you got Robbins as well to round it out.
Yeah, Josh is our senior. He'll hopefully get some opportunities this year, but it's really going to we're going to lean heavily on Joe for sure, and then Brett will be our number 2 unless something changes.
And through 6 games, you got Luke Aston. I think he's got 8 points, 3 goals. It's kind of spread out the way you've got it. You've got, I think, 10 different goal scorers, more like 15 different goal scorers.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to throw out 4 lines and with your defenseman scoring too.
Well, that's what I was about to say. As the guy that runs the D-Corps, I take pride in the fact that, we've played 6 games and 5 defensemen have scored so far. So 6 of our however many goals, are from defensemen. Let's see, what do we got? 29 goals, and I think 6 of those are defensemen. So, that's pretty, when you're getting a goal a game from defensemen, that's definitely going to help your offensive production.
What's been the pleasant surprise for you guys so far through 6 games?
I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise, but it is a pleasant thing to have. And that's, I kind of mentioned before, is how close knit this group is. It helps when you've got, as everybody likes to joke with us about, when 25 of our 27 or 26 of our 28 guys are Canadian. And I think about 18 or 19 of those all played in the ACHA, whether together or against each other. They all know each other. Even the guys that weren't in that same league, all our guys all knew each other growing up. And so it's made for a real quick bond. And that shows in, the performance on the ice. We only had 6 practices before our first game, but you go and watch those first couple of games against UCO, and it looked like we had been going for weeks, and the guys have been playing together forever, because the cohesion was there, and it was nice to see. And so it's been as we mentioned on our coaches show the other day, and the players actually said this before even Jeremy and I did, is we are right now where we were about halfway through last year. Wow. So we're in a good spot as far as where we're building towards, and it's a good feeling.
I know you mentioned it last year when we had you on. Just if you would tell us a little bit, how did you get that Canadian pipeline?
Well, Jeremy Law, our head coach, he born in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, but grew up quite a bit in Penticton, BC. That's where his family still is. His dad, Ken Law, is a coaching legend up in that part of the world. He's now taken over the Okanagan Lakers in the BCIHL. He's made it very clear that we made it very clear to our players they are not to accept any phone calls from Ken Law. And Ken Law has made it clear to some of his better guys that they're not to accept any phone calls from Jeremy Law. The joke there is when we first went D1 last year, we ended up with like 6 guys from that team, I think. Wow. That transferred down. It was long before Ken ever took over. But no, that's the big connection. Is Ken coaching the KIJHL for many, many years. We've got 2 or 3 of his former players on our team now. And then Jeremy's longtime friends that he grew up with coaching the PJHL out on the far west coast. And so he's got a ton of connections up there, and that's where that all comes from.
So on the opposite end of it, you talked about it, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little inconsistency in the game on Sunday, which, I guess you can't always be on the top of your game, but if there's anything you might think the guys need to work on a little bit yet, I know it's early. What would that be? Well,
the real big thing for us right now, and it was actually an issue all last year, and Jeremy and I are still baffled at this. We don't get it with the level of talent we have on this team. The fact that our power play just is not productive. We don't understand it. It's mind numbing to us. I mean, we're sitting around, I think, about 13% now. This is a lineup that should be at 30% easy. And last year we struggled with our penalty kill was, second best in the country last year behind Adrian. Our penalty kill is off to a slower start, but that's still going to be fine. It's just getting that power play figured out. And then, as I mentioned, the one thing that's been kind of a bit of a sticky wicket, if you will, early on is our second periods. And that's a lot. That's for a lot of teams. A lot of teams go through that. It's the tougher period, long change, all that kind of stuff. But that really crept in on yesterday's game, Sunday's game, where, our second period was one of our worst of the year. And that's why we, ended up going into the third tied 2-2.
So you've got Davenport coming up this weekend, and it's again, you mentioned it, the schedule gets tougher this year, but you know what, I think that's a good thing. That's going to help you down the road too when it comes to the computer rankings and the playoffs. And I've yet to meet a coach that doesn't want to play tough competition.
Oh yeah, this is what we wanted. This is what the players wanted. You know, a lot of players were frustrated last year, understandably so, because our schedule wasn't the toughest in the world, not by a long shot. But as we kind of explained to them how the process works, we were never going to get the greatest schedule last year. It was just too hard as a new team. Now we're getting there. You know, we've got Maryville 4 times this year. Obviously, our schedule in Chicago, we've got Arizona State, we've got Ohio, and we've got Jamestown. Davenport's, you know, still on the rise as well. You know, it's just a lot of that going on. Midland's a phenomenal team.
Yeah.
So it's really a fun schedule for us. We're excited. The Davenport weekend is going to be a lot of fun for us this weekend. It's a special weekend for us. Our as we call him, the voice of Panther hockey here, Kevin Klein. He's our PA announcer and handles he and his wife handle so much for us on a volunteer basis. They have a foundation called the Snowdrop Foundation, and this is going to be Snowdrop Foundation weekend. We're not wearing special jerseys, but we do have special jerseys available for auction. It's going to be really neat. They're just amazing people. So anything we can do to help their foundation out, which helps raise money for childhood cancer research and give scholarships to pediatric cancer patients and whatnot, it's special. So that's going to be this weekend against your local Davenport Panthers. Panthers versus Panthers again.
Well, that's going to be fun. I'll keep an eye on that for sure. Last thing before I let you go,
sure.
You've got a new podcast that
I do.
Let's talk a little bit about that. That's awesome. I want to hear more about it.
Kind of in my studio now. It's worked out well. Yeah. One of my old friends, John McCurry, he and I coached together years ago. We first coached together with Jeremy Law down with the Texas Brahmas in the old WSHL. And then John and I became co-head coaches of the New Mexico Renegades in the WSHL. Ironically, the New Mexico Renegades were moved to Springfield, Missouri, became the Springfield Express that Jeremy coached. So it's all this, I mean, you know, it is. The hockey world is just crazy like that. John is now a team photographer for the Washington Capitals, lives out in the DC area, not coaching anymore. And we called each other one day. I'd been thinking about doing something for a long time. And he reached out one day, not knowing that I was thinking about this, and said, "Hey, if you were going to do a podcast, what would your topic be?" And I said, "You got to be kidding me." So it was literally a week later, we recorded our first episode. So yeah, it's called the All Angles Podcast. It's on John's YouTube page, John A. McCreary. And then you find the All Angles Podcast on there, and we're having fun with it. Tuesday shows are non-sports, no sports on Tuesdays. We get into actually some pretty deep topics. It's been eye-opening and some very emotional at times, in fact. And then Fridays are for sports. We try not to make everything about hockey, but it kind of ends up going that way. And then we're thinking about adding one more day, which makes a lot of sense for us to add another day of podcast now that his season started and my season started. That just makes a lot of sense. Let's do that now. Let's add more. Yeah.
Oh, you sound just like me. You know, podcasting is addicting. I know I do this.
So fun.
I do a coach's show for football. Then I've got my other podcast and then play-by-play. But you know what? It's the more busy I am, the less trouble I can get in, right? That's what my wife tells me.
Yeah. No, we are now, I think, 25 episodes in, which is great. We kind of got, as a lot of the research we did, we got past that 3rd episode kind of number. And once you get past that, the experts say you've got a good chance of doing well. We're just trying to get the viewership up now, but even so, we're having a blast doing it. If the viewers are there, great. If they're not, we're still having fun.
Well, Cliff, your voice held out great. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes to be with us here on such short notice.
No worries.
To start out our season 10 of our ACHA Power Play. Good luck with the rest of the season. Good luck this weekend against the other Panther team from across town in Grand Rapids, and hope to see you down in Chicago in November. If not, I look forward to seeing you hopefully in St.